folks, welcome to this week's edition of We Speak Tangent, brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in partnership with the South of Scotland Enterprise. I'm Michael.
I'm James.
And I'm Kat.
And this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We're just going to talk about some topics that you may or may not be interested in, but hopefully you are. So, would anybody else like to lead on the said topics? I already feel as if I've said too much.
So we are going to be looking at reasonable adjustments, either in the workplace or that you can do yourself as an entrepreneur. So shall we start with what employers can do or have done?
Let's keep it very simple. Not for the sake of anybody else but me at this point. Things that employers can do, know who wants to work for you and adapt. That could be something as simple as, I say simple, as make the building accessible to get into. Yeah. And then we can talk.
Start from there.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone can get in the room.
Yes.
That's a good start.
But that doesn't always guarantee a prosperous...
100%.
Yeah. But the things
you can be at the table but not involved in the discussion. Yeah.
The table doesn't have to be higher or lower. But no, let's just start with, if you run a business from an office, it might be an idea if the actual office was accessible for everybody. Yeah. Because even if somebody is coming into your organisation from a standing start, there is probably more chance of, not that I'm a doctor, Kat is, but I'm not. There's more. No. A doctor's a doctor. No, but there is more chance of somebody that already works for your organisation needing that adaptation than there is for somebody from a standing start. So that would be the first obvious thing, and I think others can go into the sort of bones of once the building is accessible, then what? But yeah, that's the first logical thing for me.
You get everybody in. You make it, for me, sounds and places and sights and heights and all that stuff, that's a big thing for me. I don't ever voice it, but walking into places and set aside the architecture, if it needs to be appeasing. We are a race of people who loud noises affect us. So there's echo, simple tiny wee things like echoes, or there's a noise. I find myself if the window is making a noise, I will go into a dance. I will constantly, if I'm working on something, I will. They be tiny things, and I'm not asking everybody.
Also, like lights and electricity.
That's what I'm going next.
It's like when you can hear the electricity, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I went into my friend's house and his son's like, "Can you hear that?" And I was like, "Hear what?" Yeah. And he's like, "The electricity," and I laughed and I was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden I was like, I can't hear that. But at first you wouldn't be able to hear. There's a sensitivity with that.
It's that masking, isn't it? Because you're just expected to tune it out. And you kind of get used to trying. But then the more things there are, if I'm in an office under fluorescent lights, particularly flickery lights, I have a lot less capacity than I do if I'm not in that environment.
And the fact is that if you're masking, you're not giving 100% of the job. Exactly. And it's worthwhile for employers to be like, that isn't a silly question in this day and age. It isn't something that's been made up. It's been about for a while.
And I mean, to bring it back to kind of, when I was doing my PhD, I was in an office a lot of the time, and I was doing, a lot of programming. And I would maybe at least once, if not twice, every week, I would have to go home with a migraine. And I would be completely incapacitated for a couple of days. And then I'd come back and do some more. And I mean, thankfully, we could log in, because we had a VPN, so we could log in from remotely into the computer on the desk. But yeah, it was, and that did help. But
I mean, the fact that you work with computers didn't really help things.
Oh no, I used to hood up, headphones in, sunglasses on.
Because if you're staring at anybody that works in tech will tell you. It doesn't matter if you're staring in a dark room. If you're staring at a screen all day, your eyes will flicker. So I think. And I'm trying to be as fair and objective as humanly possible. I think people can only control certain variables. I think even if you, and that was a very nice way of saying there is no such thing as perfect. I think
100%.
I think that even if you have the most perfectly accessible building, chances are, not related to Google, there will be something that triggers somebody.
100%.
And it's, I'm learning about it. I mean, the more that we do these, there are things that you both have said that I haven't even thought of. I mean, I figured out the lights pretty quickly, but that's a trip to a hardware shop to get something like an energy saver or a dimmer. I mean, anybody can do that in any. You can.
Yeah,
You can,
I mean, certainly, when I was in that office, as soon as everyone left, I put the lights off.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are lots of different ways that you could, and obviously, I mean, employers aren't. It's a moral thing, but rather than, I mean, because certain buildings are bound by you cannot put lifts in grade 2 because of the age of the building and the adaptation and the damage that it could potentially do. But wherever possible, I mean, that's the yardstick.
And it comes into financial considerations, and whether employers can afford adaptations. But certainly, there's usually something that can help. Like you say, nothing is perfect. You can move towards perfect, but even if you're allowing someone to be in that space at all and doing your best, then that's kind of ideal, really.
It's like, what does an ideal space look like then? I guess that's what
I think it depends.
Depends what job you're in,
and what you need as well.
Let's just say for us three, right?
Okay.
What does just for like the viewers or maybe somebody who's just tuned in, what does an ideal space look for Kat, James, and yourself? What does it look like?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I thought I was going to remind you who I was. Right, okay, sorry.
Because I was wanting you to lead with it.
Okay, that's fine. Can you tell this is episode 9? Is it 9? Episode 9. 8, 9.
We just don't call each other names anymore. Just you.
Name badges. Look, it depends on the job, and there will be a and I'm not wishing to put pressure on people. It's sort of polite fellowship rather than incredible argument. I mean, there will be give and take. If it's a radio studio, you'd hope that it's reasonably soundproofed. But then again, microphones are getting better.
Yeah.
We're in a room that is a fairly lovely room. But I mean, when I started in the industry, you wouldn't look at a room like this and go, "That's the perfect radio studio." Or podcast studio. So technology is getting better. So you can make the adaptation to the actual building. And by the way, so say this is a lovely podcast studio. Technology is moving all the time. So and also I think what we should be saying is that my version or your version of perfect is my version of livable. I've had jobs and I'll just say I've had gigs or jobs or placements where the building has not been accessible and there has been a conversation there. The conversation being, oh dear, how are we going to, or words to that effect, how are you going to be able to be here to do that job? Not every adaptation is possible, but it's a give and take thing. So for me and my skill set, separate to the idea that I have that I'm doing, I don't think I ask for much, which is if I can get in, as in literally get from my car, in my chair, to the building, in the door, in the space where I can do whatever job I'm doing, be it DJing or writing or saying something, and that could be, if I can reach that fader or that thing over there, that's it. And a loo is what's preferable. I mean, at this point, but it's not always there. For me and my skill set, I'm not terribly nonplussed or bothered about lights. I prefer to have them. Otherwise, I won't be able to see what I'm doing. But no, I mean, for me, it is literally sort of how do I get in? Am I safe? I could tell you nightmare stories, but let's actually keep it to solutions. For me, it's literally just getting in, and then then it becomes a level playing field. Then it becomes, okay, I know what I can do, and I know that I can do that here. But the sort of the other side of the coin is that's why more and more people are doing things from home. Because society hasn't made the adaptations yet, and the likelihood of that conversation happening, be it at government level, strategic level, business level, without sounding simple, folks, or blunt, I can get in my own house. Thankfully it's adapted to me. So it's six of one and half dozen of another. But I mean, you're an artist, James. So what is your?
Well,
I mean, I'm not telling you things you don't know. Hopefully, you're still an artist.
well,
but what is your perfect working environment?
We're actually working on a perfect building the now, but for me, I just need a space like as a creative and a neurodivergent. I'm looking for a space where I can get messy. Now, I'm not a messy artist. Well, I like to think of myself not a messy artist, but I need that space to expand on the skill level of getting messy, making a mess. You know, I don't like that. I don't like mess on my clothes, all that. So I'm looking for somewhere that I can get creative outside myself. Does that make sense?
So how can that place? So if, I'm not saying if this is we're using the space that we've got. So are you?
I'll bring the paints in next week. Don't worry.
Well, as it happens, I'm off. No, because I don't like to get messy at all. But can you adapt any room into? Is it a case of?
Throw a sheet over it.
Yeah, putting a bed sheet down or whatever it is, and going, okay, I can make this broom cupboard work.
But then how would it go with? Then I need to worry about the stuff underneath, and it's like producer Amelia
So
says,
it
what
would
about
be in the way
outside?
of your
And outside
creative
would be
process.
great, but the outside has.
Sorry, ask that question again.
What?
So it would be in the way of your creative process.
Because then I would be putting a block on myself by going the same as when Amelia asked. It's the exact same thing as you just asked there. It's like, you know, I'm outside, I've got to deal with the noises, I've got to deal with everyday people going past. A bird may poop on my painting. I don't know, all these things that come into my mind.
If that happens, put the lottery on at this stage. That's a hell of a shot.
But you know what I mean? I just want somewhere where I can be me. Like, it's took a long time to get here just now. It's not a sob story, it's just that's my story. I want to be me, I want to be more of me. So in that space is like, I like somewhere that can suitable for me. I'm still adapting like myself. Sort of like yourself, Michael, is like I'm still getting there, I'm still finding out, but that would be great. You know, there is things there that like Kat's wearing the loop earbuds.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to them, you know, and things like that. We can adapt ourselves.
Yeah.
But like you say, technology hasn't moved on that far. But give me a paintbrush and a room where nobody's bothered about getting messy. I've yet to experience that.
So just on that point, because as much as I go on and on and on about how good technology is, there'll be people out there still with old phones. So when you say loop earphones, what does that see? This is like the generation game, right? So what does that adaptation help you do?
They're an earplug, so I wear them so that the world is quieter.
Is that it? So is that classed as a noise cancelling headphone?
No.
Okay.
So like technological headphones have noise cancelling. It's literally just an.
It's like an earplug.
It's like a wee loop.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it's called loop because they're round.
Yeah.
But you can get little faders, so you can put stuff in the hole of the loop, so that it makes it even quieter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you can hear other people. You just get the noise cancellation stuff for the back in it. But there's 3 different types. You get the sleeping ones as well.
This is the sleep one.
I've been down the rabbit holes.
Because I'm like, I want the world as quiet as I possibly can.
But equally, if just flipping the argument the other way, if you want to do a bit of intergenerational working, you can have like hearing aid or loop.
Yes.
Thing. So it's not.
That's very expensive to install though, because like when I was teaching, we installed that.
Oh, we'll get to the poverty thing eventually. These are all. This is like sort of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This is
of course,
if you want if money is not it's like QVC. If money is not an object, here's
you
what
can
you
have
do.
a loop system.
Yeah. So,
but you do need special microphones for that.
Yeah. So that is my environment, James's environment. Kat, what is your perfect work environment?
So mine has evolved. So You know, when I was studying and when I was doing my PhD, like it was that in the office. It was cocooned, like music on, headphones on, hood up, in the dark. Just me and the computer. And that kind of worked, but also I need to be outside because I spent a lot of time outside as a child, and it's kind of I really struggle if I'm not, if I'm inside all the time. Also, my breathing struggles with air conditioning, which is not helpful. But yeah, so then it became outside, and then I became a dog walker, and my life was outside, and I loved it. And then, you know, alongside that, and after that, I did horsey jobs, and I was, you know, that's also outside, and that was wonderful. And then I became chronically ill because I had like fibromyalgia and stuff, and asthma. Anyway, so then that meant that I couldn't do that anymore. So then I had to adapt to now. So now I go outside at least once every day. I walk my dogs, and sometimes that's I go and sit in the garden and they run around, and sometimes I can go and walk up a hill very slowly. But if I don't do that, again, I really struggle. So I am lucky enough to have a view from my house, so I can look out on the hill and I can see the deer walking around, and that really helps. And I generally will either work in bed because there's a thing with chronic conditions. I forget the word for it, but basically, if your legs are up, then you feel rested. Whereas if your legs are down, it's something to do with like blood flow or something. But so if your legs aren't raised, then you don't feel rested after sitting, because it's actually quite difficult for your body to maintain. So there's that, and then also my desk is a Singer sewing machine desk with a door on top of it. So
sorry, I'm only 33. So what is? Sorry, I zoned out.
Be provided.
Right. So
it's a Singer is a very one of the first sewing machines.
Yes.
So it's like an antique thing. It's got like a
I got that far. Yes.
Cast iron kind of thing at the bottom, and then it has like a whole foot pedal, which would have been for the sewing machine. So which means that I can sit at the desk while I'm on the computer, foot pedaling the foot pedal.
But you are foot pedaling nothing. It's just the exercise of doing
attached.
it. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
But no,
sorry, I don't want to break your heart. You're affecting nothing. But
that one can be attached.
Oh, okay.
But it's currently
what colour is it?
What the iron is black.
So can I appease myself? I want to know what colour it is. I'm trying to picture it.
Okay, fine. I'll paint the entire picture. So,
what you're witnessing here, viewer, is the 3 levels of neurodivergence: function, colour, thing. I mean,
so the metal of it is black, although it's slightly rusty now because it's an antique. And then the top is just wood, although that one is actually. No, it's the other one that I collect them. The other one is quite dark. So that one's quite pale wood. And then the door is just half of a door, so that's also just wood. But then I have a rainbow cloth over the top.
Cool.
So your desk goes up and down.
No, the desk doesn't move. The foot pedal.
Oh, the foot pedal. Right. So it's a desk with a space. Sorry, if we could just get back to the point. Right. It's a desk with a... Okay, right. So that gives you more room to manoeuvre.
It just allows me to move while I'm working. Yeah. So I'm not having to sit still.
Okay, so that's...
It's nice. It helps.
And
to be rhythmic.
Natural light and...
Oh, yeah, dark as possible.
And this is... The best bit is, this is before we get to the people
my
or no people.
My computer also, and I think everyone in this room has done it, goes, that's really yellow. Because I have the brightness turned right down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mine has not.
Blue light turned right down as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I turn that up. I want to see it.
Dark as possible.
I also want to change mine. I would like a view as well, please. Cat's got a view, and I was like, I've not asked for a view. I want a view.
But, I mean,
I'm changing it.
Yeah. But no, and then ideally music for me.
Yeah.
Music.
I mean,
I have grown out of needing. When I was studying. I used to have a film on, I'd have some music on, I'd be reading, and I'd usually be doing like a web test or something.
Yeah, that's me.
And but I've kind of settled myself a bit now, so I will have like one music on, but I will always be either listening to a podcast or an audiobook or some music.
Me too, actually. Yeah, but I mean, just whilst we talk about access and perfect environment, like the same thought that could go into a business could quite easily, because I know, because I've done it, could go into making accessible housing.
100%.
If I hear one more argument about why are we building accessible houses, look, I'm a massive proponent of you make it as accessible as possible and hope that people never ever need to test it.
Yeah, I mean, so like,
it's a house for life, just like it could be a business for life.
Exactly. Like I live in a 4-unit block, and so and I live upstairs, so I have stairs to get from my hall to my house.
Which doesn't help your chronic illness if you're going up and down the stairs. Says the guy in the wheelchair.
Sometimes it's okay.
Yes.
Most of the time I will need to a good 5 minutes at the bottom of the stairs, and I go up. Yeah. Sometimes it's like I have to stop several times on my way up.
And that, folks, is the problem. Yes. But the cost of adaptation, and this isn't me getting all soapboxy, the cost of adaptation genuinely means nothing. Because if you get, not that I'm, yes, it's somebody else's money.
Yeah.
If you make it as accessible for everybody, then it doesn't matter if you want to work there or not. Everybody can.
Exactly.
And then you can cross other hurdles, such as culture or risk.
Can I add anti-glare glasses?
Yes.
Computers, because 100% a game changer.
Are they coloured?
They can be coloured. I just got like clear ones, but with anti-glare on, and
they're a game changer. Like between them and the look.
I'm waiting to get some coloured ones, but that's a process.
So I think this bit's going to be a lot shorter. We've discussed what it is for an employee to make the adaptions. Assuming you're self-employed, how do you put those adaptions in? Because you will still have to pay for those adaptions or not.
Yeah, that's the absolute game.
You just move the cost.
Money.
Yeah.
You put the money in front
100%.
in order to get that. Hence why being self-employed. I go back into employment as an artist. Who would employ my style art as a self-employed artist or any of the other stuff I do? That would be a struggle. I think about that often. It's like I'm no shy of work. A lot of stuff I can't do, and this is one of them. Like to integrate back into mainstream work, will we call it? Is that the name for it? Mainstream work?
It's becoming mainstream work.
Mainstream work. Like,
hybrid working is becoming the thing.
Yeah.
But office-based working, I guess.
Yeah, or even front of house. Like things I've done before in the past. As I said, I couldn't go back into working in the bank. I would not be able to work in the front of a shop. I wouldn't be able to do that. It's like, I nearly used the word a progressive illness. It's always there with me, you know. It's like it's not as if it got any worse. It just is, and it's the understanding that without these adaptations that I already have in my life, whether it be painting every day because that's the way of me expressing myself, and then turning it into a business and working and selling, and without these things put in process, I don't function as James.
100%.
That's it. I don't function as James. I like who I am. I've worked hard to get here. But the restraints of life that go with being neurodivergent is that not every day is the same. You know, and how does an employer go, well, you know, James isn't coming in today, or James is painting on the walls, do you know? And I mean, I'm laughing because laughter's where I go to when it gets serious, when you're touching home. Like, this is a serious thing we're talking about.
It's the second biggest own goal in the top 3. Like, we're already putting that on ourselves. We're already going, no, it's us. No. For everybody, you can't be all well all the time.
Yeah.
We just get through those things quicker.
Yeah.
And never slower. So, with a minute to go before the end of this first half, because I'm determined to keep the time so it's organised, just to prove that I can be organised. But also, it takes effort, and I mean this genuinely, it takes energy and effort to leave your comfortable existence to go to an office. So if I can do the job from my house
100%.
and get the same results,
and often better.
Sometimes, I mean, you know, unless I buy the equipment myself and do that from home. But I mean, if it unless it's a necessity, if the job is able to be done, it doesn't matter what time of day or where, but that should be the adaptation. Just you do it on your terms as long as the job is done.
Because also there is that conversation about, you know, if you can incorporate breaks that are actually restful into your day, then you will be more productive. But if you're forced to do it all in one section, you'll be massively unproductive.
But even there, like somebody like me, I'm random.
Yeah,
I'm random.
exactly.
It's like tangent is the middle name of what we do.
Yeah.
So like to put a structure in there, I know we're running out of time. We can probably touch back on this if we remember.
Oh, we will. No. So in the first half we've covered the adaptions hopefully necessary going forward and the difference that they make if you're self-employed. The answer to that is money. But we will be back in part 2 to discuss some of the other queries that we think you may have. So please join us. All right, welcome back to part 2 of this week's edition of We Speak Tangents. So here's a test, here's a memory test for you. Some people have Sudoku, but James, with the greatest of respect, what were you talking about 30 seconds ago?
So we were talking about...
If you remember this, I mean...
If I was to constrict from the normal day of working, I'm random. I go off in different ways in different places. I think things. I think I've done. Sometimes I think I've done
side quests going on at
side
once.
quests. But also, while we were talking about that, I was thinking, what about this? Right now, this has happened to me in the past. So I won't mention the work name, but in a place, in fact, it's happened to me a lot. In a place of work where the boss has showed you what it is that needs done. You have done what he has said, but you've done it twice, 3 times, 4 times as fast, and you're finished by 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's wrong. Do you get me? That always happens, and it's like, no. And I question it, because that's what my neurodivergent is, and I'm like, no, you told me to do this, that's what you said, you did that, you did that, you did that, you did that, and I show them back, and it's like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, but it isn't, because it's right. And then obviously I'm creating a scene, and then the next minute I'm a target, and it's like, do you know, that's the situations that I find myself in.
It is really hard. I've been in a few jobs where you get shown how to do it and you do it, and then other people will take shortcuts. And I really struggle with that because I'm like, no, it has to be done properly.
And it's like I'm not even mentioning shortcuts. It's just my neurodivergency has mapped out in my brain, and I am going full steam ahead.
I don't have that.
And it's like
I'm more like, what was the next thing?
You can't be, and you know how hard that is to hear. It's like, you can't be finished. This normally takes 8. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm finished. And
no,
what's
I've had that.
So that's a bonus with being self-employed and working under my own rules. I put my own pressure on myself, and it's like, that's how it is. I guess that's a bonus to being neurodivergent.
I mean, I admire the effort. I mean, if you can, and I mean that genuinely without sounding like my dad, like, I admire the actual effort of, I have done this, as you have said. It's just came out a lot quicker, and it's the same result. Because now, as many people will tell you, it's a piece of technology. So the idea that you've actually thought about the ways to get there and got there. And for me, it's about, but that's the strength of how good the boss is. Like, if the boss can see that, that's the employer-employee professional relationship thing, where if you know the person that is working within your organisation, what they are good at and how they process. And now we've moved on, folks. We're not talking about how to get in the building. We are in the building, and we are telling you. But that's a professional quality.
Do you know, can I try and explain it to you, because it's inside my mind?
Sure.
So like I still do it to this day, even to myself, and I'm my boss. So if I've got a painting, or I've got something to do, or I'm writing, I'm this, and I will say to myself, right, okay, everything has to have that wee goal inside it. So for me, I'll be like, I'm not going to be too crude, but if I need the toilet, I'll be like, right, I need the toilet, so I'm going to write 5,000 words, and then I'll go to the toilet. And that's how it works. Whereas, like, talking about the past tense with the job, it's a job, and it needs done. So I will have that as another goal. Is like, right, it's done. What's next? Whereas, like, again, I'm trying to no too tangent in my own mind. But
I think
what I'm saying is, I put wee goals in order for me to get to that target.
Yeah.
And then when I'm questioned by that target, it's like, obviously I'm not going to explain to the boss, I needed the toilet, so I did that, and I went fast, and and they'll be like, what? Do you know? Instead, I'll internally do that, and that's what it's like for me.
I mean, the concerning thing there is that you are making sure that you've written 500,000 words or 5,000 words before.
Yeah, is
It's the pressure
good
thing.
self-care?
Yeah.
Well, that's
is my
one
question
analogy.
with
It's
that.
like boil the kettle, or I let her boil the kettle and go out the room.
Okay.
And in the time that kettle's boiled, I'll have gave myself the mini task. I'll pick my socks up. I'll do that. You know, it's like wee things that I have to. I guess it's the dopamine chase. I'm trying to get myself up, and I can't go and get myself on the go for somebody else's job without going. I'll be really good at that.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
no,
fair.
it's the going the extra mile to prove that it. But that's psychology as much as anything
I've
else.
had that where
Yeah.
I will do things slower because I want to be thorough
Yeah,
and make sure that everything is done really well.
yeah, absolutely. There is a merit in doing things,
Yeah.
but that depends on the person.
It
Yeah,
depends on the
100%.
workload. You know, it's like I'm not saying I've never
And
made
also
mistakes.
capacity as
Yeah.
well, you know.
Like when I said the last time about writing about when you're writing words, I get it wrong, but when confronted, you're like, and then you're obviously full of these emotions, and you're like, oh no, I've got it wrong, and I'm making a mistake, and it's like, wow.
But I mean,
here we
even
go.
like you're saying, you know, like I wrote my thesis and I look at it back now, and there's a typo on the front on the title page, and it's there. It's going to be there forever. It's in a library somewhere. But you know, I read those words so many times, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, like I'll just zone out, and that's part of the hyperlexic of it all, because I'll just read the word without really seeing whether the letters are in the right order and all that kind of stuff.
It's similar, you know, it's like, so being self-employed and having to put a lot of orders in for like mugs or for things, I am technically a wee bit scared. I'm dyslexic as well, you know, I'm scared like when stuff comes and it's ordered and I'm like, and my heart skips and I get that cold sweat and I'm like, oh no, I've just ordered this, I've wasted money for the company, and I'm like, and then I'm also relieved and I'm like, they're all right. Now who's buying them? No, there's another thing I'm putting in. I'm putting these goals in and these tasks, but I guess it's just one of the other things being neurodivergent and being self-employed.
I mean, but it's no easier than it. I mean, I say well, it may be easier, but we're always having that internal dialogue with ourselves. It could be a boss or a senior position, or it could just be our internal dialogue.
See, I use a lot of you know, self-validation from, you know, DBT kind of really made me really think about it, and like those like little affirmations and little you know, that conversation with myself is quite often in the form of, oh yeah, that's difficult, or that will make us happy, or you know, that will be helpful, or I get why that was triggering and your feelings make sense. You know, that will be my kind of dialogue, and that helps to keep going and keep doing things.
What about, something's come into my mind there again, but what about being self-employed and having to transfer that power over to somebody? As in, like, you know, if you've got a job to do, how does that feel by? Now I don't have anybody that is employed to do anything for me like that. But how are we as neurodivergents at handing over something that you already do to somebody?
Ooh, that's hard.
That's a separate.
Thought it would be because
Not
I'm
very good.
That is a separate podcast topic. So on Cat's point. See, I think part of this is also caffeine and sugar. By the way, we filmed the Christmas episode not so long ago, and actually we're having a deeper conversation, and the coffee has not hit. But it's all down to how people work. It's all down to, I mean, the answer to the question is, your question is that some people, and it's not a nothing answer, some people are better at delegating than others.
I mean, I do delegate, and I have delegated some things when you know, that I've been in situations where I've been kind of you know, organising people to do tasks and stuff like at stables usually. And you know, I think it does depend, and you do have to have that awareness of, like, some people will work fast and will be like, I like what I've got, and some people will be very thorough, and it's about kind of finding how they work as well. And I think maybe having thought about that in a lot of detail, you know, makes it more open to be like, well, actually, you know, do you want it to be a bit darker in here, or, you know, would you rather be outside or inside, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so when it comes to the sort of third sector things, I delegate things that I know that I will not be able to deal with. Because my thought process is very simple, which is it's not like Cat, for example. I don't have the affirmations in the morning. It's a completely different way of communicating. I know exactly what I'm capable of doing. I don't, with respect to everything, I don't need to sit in front of a mirror and tell myself, like, I've got in the car, I've got that far, I'm going to do the thing. And the things that the things that I delegate are the things that I know that if they were delegated to me, I couldn't do. And that's not a self-employed thing or a being an employee thing.
Life thing, hey?
That is me. That is the boss-client relationship, which is I take DJing, for example. Like, can I make a drink for people? No. Why? Because I have no interest in it. So if I have no interest in it, then the drink isn't going to be very good. Now, do any of the wonderful bar staff have an interest? Not my concern. But they are, it's a separate qualification, it's a separate thing. I am just there in the DJing capacity to turn up and play music and front of house a little bit, but I know I can do the job because it's the job that I have crafted for myself since I was at least 11.
Right.
Now, there will be elements of a lack of confidence or a lack of thing because the variables will change. I'm equally as triggered if it's not a busy night, just like a business owner is equally as triggered if their bottom line isn't as good from 1 month to the next. Like, it's the same thing, you're just changing the framing. So if I delegate something, I am delegating it knowing that the person that I've asked to do the thing has told me that they're okay with doing it. It's a question of how. It's a question of framing.
I was thinking like if somebody's watching or listening. For me, because I ask the question all the time because it's something that I struggle with and I will struggle with, but I'll get through it. So it's like if anybody's listening, it's all right to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Again, like there's never too much room for improvement. If you're good at what you do, is to show somebody. Because I think being neurodivergent and being self-employed, we get scared. That's a unique world we've built up. But it's all right sometimes to let folk in and go.
And also, if something is impeding on your ability to be you, then it's not worth it.
Yeah,
I'd sooner have the chat with people. But it's parenting. It's my dad going, I'd rather you do the job correctly first time than sort of why you there. But not everybody has that luxury. No. So there will be in any employment scenario, one would imagine there will be an element of learning.
And I guess it's like something else we spoke
Hopefully,
about.
I don't know.
Like for us 4 in the room is like, it's already expanded what I do. And I guess that's why I was asking. I was going on a big long to get to this point. It's like...
We like a long
it's invaluable to have people like us who work alongside each other together. And there's no payment needed for that. Just like get together, have a wee chat and find out what other people do because it does enhance what you do.
Because also you never know what is going to make what you do easier.
Absolutely not.
Exactly,
unless you try something,
Exactly, and again, I'm not a big fan of the word easier, but better does enhance and lets it get better, and that's, I guess, what I was trying to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying.
I also think that if somebody's new out there and they're not ready or they're just about to want to go, the differences between having the mainstream job and to look to take that jump. Aye, it's scary. We'll not lie to you, but it is great to get your own confidence and your own comfortable. But how do you get it? You ask. That's the whole point. I wish I had a Michael or a Cat or Amelia like 4.5 years ago. I would really have. I would really embraced it. So that's what I was.
But just to circle the tangent, that is why we're sitting in a business centre run by Celsa. Is because this has happened. With a previous podcast guest before that has cleared the way for this to exist. Rachel, who we've had on the podcast, who is the Frangipane bakery extraordinaire, this conversation has happened over and over, and it continues to happen. It's not a perfect thing,
No.
but it means that one conversation has cleared the way for a change in which people are valued and employed, and it helps people. I have said over and over again, thank you, Rachel, because that's why this then idea exists. That's why we are here. Let's talk about the actual physical adaptions that make people's lives better, or hopefully will make people. So let's start with the stim. Let's start with the cube. Let's start with the thing. People with a lot of energy sometimes don't know where to put it. And it may be, as Kat said, it may be a case of pressing down the pedal on the singer-sewing machine desk whilst doing something and listening to something. For some people, it's as simple or not as a stim toy or a stim thing. So we've mentioned this over and over again, and we have reached out to the wonderful folk at
Needle.
Thank you. That's perfect product placement. Thank you very much.
I became addicted and then I passed it on.
Yeah, I haven't progressed to that yet. I've still got this little thing.
You're still on the acupressure room.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure helps.
Awesome.
But
so before we started this, like I'm a picker.
We know.
I pick my beard, you know, and it's like it's sore.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it. Or the one previous to that is I'm not as confident as everybody makes me out to be. So I would put my hand in my pocket and I'd nip my leg.
Yeah,
and I'd nip my leg until it's black and blue and sore. So these things are important. Like you just don't even know that. The fact is that these really, really help. And it's not an advert for anything other than these help. I've got hardly any wee bits in my beard. Yeah. I'm like, it's like as if I had beard alopecia. There was wee bits missing for it, and I'm like,
is that a thing?
But
Sorry, or is that a James Bond?
No, that's a
beard
thing.
alopecia.
But
okay. I don't know.
But you know, it's like, you know, I used to, before I thought about stimming, and then I look back now, and like when I used to work in like fast food, and I worked on the till because you did the same thing and I loved it. And you were just there, you hid in your corner and you did the same thing over and over again. It was great.
Yeah. You press a button.
But then, you know, also then if you're on till, you have to do drinks as well. So you turn around, you go a couple of steps and you come back to them.
Yeah.
And every time I did that, I would click my fingers.
Yeah.
And that was what I used to do.
Yeah.
Where now I generally have a cube, or I also have most of the others.
Cat isn't in the fast food business anymore. So if you order a fast food thing, you don't get a cube lobbed.
You also don't get a till anymore.
No,
generally.
No, it's an actual Americanized screen thing before you get. Anyway, tangent. This is from somebody that doesn't spend any time in fast food.
You know, I also have. I think the crisis kit has been on the socials.
100%.
So. That is always with me all the time, and that has a variety of different kinds of stims. I've got my little bunny today for a soft.
I think we've sort of got a mascot, but I have no idea how to ask the question. We have a sort of guest.
Paxton Ted.
Right, there we go.
So Paxton Ted was the last of his kind. Paxton House has got new teddies. So this wee guy lives with me. He's been through the walls. He's got a wee.
You can see how facially uncomfortable I am at this point. But yes, it's an actual thing.
He comes to us everywhere.
No, I actually collect bashful bunnies. This is my smallest one. I have many, and then I also have plushy dreadfuls. I love as well. I find them very comforting.
I mean, chances are we'll be sponsored by a bear company. I have to mask my uncomfortableness. Now
I might bring in a plushy dreadful one week.
There are other things such as. What would you call it? Text overlay or colours?
Overlays. I think we got these ones in Sainsbury's in Kelso, and I really like them because they're on keying, and you can do that yourself. But yeah, I really like them, and I like it because you can mix and match as well. It's really handy.
And these for me these are a game changer. So
100%.
Just Amelia brung in one, and I was fascinated. I'm like a magpie. If there's something over there was an orange one, but it turns out the red one is what I need.
Yeah.
And, you know, my mate Graham's wrote a book. It's a big book that's quite big called The Invention of Charlotte Bronte. If anybody wants to know,
it is a book of many words.
It is.
Yes. And I'll be honest, Graham. I was struggling to read it because of my dyslexia, but I'm powering through it thanks to the red. The red one is amazing. got it in my bag. I've constantly got it. I
Makes
found
such a
the love for
difference.
reading again
Yeah.
through something that I
But
always
the
used.
number of people, there's a video on YouTube, I'll find it for the show notes, which is an example of like what it's like to have Erlands and have the text bouncing around and moving and going and phasing in and out and stuff like that. And people watch it, and one of my friends watched it, and she said to me, yeah, but that's just when you're reading, right? And I was like, nope, that's everything, all the time. And she was like, how do you function? I was like, used to it.
Yeah. Do you ever feel your eyes move
Yeah,
to the
100%.
side?
Yeah, totally.
For again, until then, I was like, I always thought there was something wrong with me.
So I went through like the first part of Erland's assessment, and then I need to kind of like save up and pay for the glasses and stuff. But and the woman that did the assessment read the questionnaire, and she was like, "How have you got this far?" And I was like, "That's just how the world is to me, you know." Didn't think about it.
It could also be something as clothing. It's a big part of all of our lives.
Indeed.
In some work environments, there is a uniform. There isn't in any of the places that I have worked or volunteered, although the hoodie has come back in, which I could have saved a lot of money if I just wore the hoodie. But Kat, your particular apparel means something to you.
Yeah, I am wearing my anti-anxiety hoodie from Refuse to Conform Clothing, which it's extra heavy. It has like an extra big snuggy hood and extra long sleeves. So
I don't think we have had this conversation socially, and if we haven't or we have, I'm just going to ask it again as if I am a viewer or a listener. So in the very same vein as what makes a 2.5 ton thing of metal an autistic car, what makes that particular hoodie that you are wearing from that clothing company anti-anxiety?
So it's extra heavy, so it works quite like a weighted blanket.
Right, so okay, so the weight actually means something.
Yeah, so like deep pressure therapy.
Right.
Which is linked to a lot of neurodivergent people find it calming to have deep pressure. So Temple Grandin was probably the first person to talk about it.
Cows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the cows and the snuggle machine.
Oh dear. Next.
I thought you were just randomly putting that in.
Can I tangent back to my
yes,
explanation
yes,
now?
please do. Yes, I know nothing about cows. Like, move on.
I do, but anyway.
I don't know a thing about horses, but we got that far.
But yeah, so it's extra heavy, so it's got that deep pressure therapy, which calms your nervous system because it's like being held. It's like kind of naturally comforting to your vestibular system. And then the extra long sleeves, so you can fiddle with them or you can hide in them, and that's quite nice. And
That's not a lack of measurement thing. That is meant to be
it's
a longer sleeve.
It's purposely extra long, so that you can snuggle about in them like that.
Fashion has changed, folks.
But
okay,
also, yeah, exactly. Your wrists are warm, like because like so. Part of my chronic illness is that my hands are really sore, like all the time. But it's much better if my wrists are warm, so that's really nice. I also wear, actually, that's a very good point. I wear turtle doves gloves almost all of the time, which are recycled cashmere.
Recycled? How do they recycle the cashmere?
It used to be.
We say in the land of cashmere that it's hoy.
They used to be. They used to be jumpers, and they make them into gloves. So fingerless gloves, and then if you have them on your wrists, they keep you warm.
What
and it's
sort
nice.
of weird? Okay, great. Okay.
With a sewing machine.
They also have desks. Right, but there's a connected. Got it.
Yes, desks that function as sewing machines.
And that, folks, is a circle back to the original tangent.
A desk with a sewing machine on it.
I'm still lost.
Anyway.
We'll just stick with it. It's fine.
It also has...
I'm zoning in and out.
Help me!
Yeah.
Extra large hood.
Okay.
So you can...
So
just about, even with the headphones on, so you can hide in it.
Right.
Which is also very nice.
Okay, well, horses for courses. I mean, an extra heavy, extra long thing.
And actually, so this is the original extra heavy, and they're doing a deluxe extra heavy now, which is even heavier.
I'm so sorry. What makes that... Sorry. What is the price difference in the deluxe, and what makes it deluxe?
I don't
Even
remember.
heavier.
I don't remember.
Weights in the
Dyscalculic,
pocket.
don't do numbers.
Right.
It's thicker, and it's soft inside.
Heavy duty, man. I actually bought a blanket.
A weighted
Because we were
blanket.
talking about blankets.
See,
Yeah.
that makes more sense to me.
I have
On
a
my
weighted,
bed.
I have
Yeah.
a weighted blanket. It's amazing. It's
they're
little
really
glass beads. Makes such a difference.
Brilliant.
When I'm not at home with my weighted blanket.
I did forget though, because I had it on top of my quilt and I was like, I'm suffocating, it's too warm in here. And then I'm like, oh,
I know,
I'm
you
on
see,
your
I
back.
was always that
Big
person that
blanket.
had like, so I have like 2 washable duvets and the weighted blanket and a blanket.
And the benefit to being self-employed is you can stay in bed.
And the benefit of being single, the blanket's for me
Yes.
and me only.
No, but I mean, we jest, but all of this is adaptions so that people who are neurodivergent, or indeed
Yeah.
not neurodivergent, there'll be somebody out there that isn't neurodivergent that just wants to be heavy,
Yes.
that can actually, you know, why are we putting it all on neurodivergent?
Okay.
But I mean, in the weight of
But
their
yes,
thing.
also-
And the weight
But
away.
thank you. That's a good
Everyone.
save. Everybody wants to be comfortable.
Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
so-
and
but-
everyone will have some things that they could change.
Yeah.
But these
That will
are
make their life
adaptions
better.
to get people from their house
And the work.
into a place of employment
Mentally or
work.
physically. Yes.
Here, here. So that I'll be honest with you. That's not how I thought that particular part was going to go. I was okay with the Sims and the teddy bear, but the weighted thing. I mean, great.
You should try it.
I'm yeah. I might. Yes, I might get myself something for Christmas. Extra heavy, but no. But just for me, I like to keep things simple. I don't do casual terribly well, and if you pay me money, I will dress up and look presentable.
Do you take your labels out?
Sometimes.
Do you
Sometimes
take your
that
labels
company's
out of your
off, aye.
clothing?
I cut them
Well,
off.
somebody, yes.
So it's not like
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
annoying.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, comfort is a thing. Yeah, I don't need something else to read, but yes, people do that for me.
Can I do this wee bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you won't have long to wait for number
Dear
3.
Please, oh dear. Right. Okay. Well, join us in part 3, where we'll be talking about more about adaptions. And yes, this is a particularly tangenty episode. We are finally, after 8 episodes, fulfilling the brief. We'll see you in
Proved
part
that
3.
we're much better at managing other people than we are at managing
We'll see you in
ourselves.
part 3. Okay, folks, welcome back to part 3, and I only wish the cameras were rolling in that 10-minute break, and I'm sure we'll get a tangent back to it, but welcome back to part 3. Just a question, when you rewind and hear Kat talk about gloves, where did your mind go? Because some people went to turtle doves, and we just did a Christmas one this morning, so innocent
sense.
minds. Okay, so
Actual doves on your nose.
yes, you see, that's bound to be a business. We should pitch it. It'll be great. Okay, so back to this is a random-ish podcast in the sense that we are. I mean, everyone at this point is almost random, but we are talking about ways in which. Hopefully employers can make adaptions so that people such as us and other neurodivergent folks can work
More effectively.
Comfortable.
And
more effectively and comfortably, indeed. So, communication, I think. You can make any sort of physical adaptation provided you have the money and the clearance to do it, but I think the biggest thing is communication, says the man with the communication disorder, as Asperger's is. So communication. Now, there are ways in which folks can get in touch with us,
Yes.
and one of them, Kat, is the voice note.
Please leave us a voicemail. It is on the website. You just click on it and leave your message. You can listen to it back to make sure you're happy with it, and then we will receive your message, and we would be delighted to hear about your suggestions for adaptations or anything else you would like to share with us.
Absolutely, because they will be different to the suggestions that the three of us have, I think.
Exactly.
I think the more podcasts that we do, I have to remember that I'm just one person. It's like a meeting of the UN. We're like, well, as neurodivergent people, we should be.
100%. And,
yes.
you know, we can play the messages on the podcast.
Absolutely. No, I
and
mean,
share
I'm not.
everyone's voices.
I don't think we're at phone-in stage just yet, but we can absolutely listen to the actual voice messages, and hopefully provide some
And
guidance.
we can react
indeed,
to them on the podcast.
Indeed.
And also good news stories. If you've found anything interesting
100%.
in these ones, we really want to hear from you. It's important that we hear what we're doing is making a difference. We can only know for our ends that it's making a difference for us, but until we actually get to hear for you guys, then we won't know if it's working on the other end. I mean, we're starting to
Absolutely.
get people, we're meeting people in the street, we're getting people emailing us in, but
Some of us are meeting people in the street.
Some of us go outside.
Yes.
Aye.
And some of us don't. Yeah.
So we need your emails and texts and stuff.
Yeah,
And-
please just
Aye.
communicate with us in all of the ways.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. I mean, communication is the thing, I think. If you can find a way in
I think
which...
connection is the thing.
Yes.
And finding the best communication method
Absolutely.
for you is
Absolutely.
on that point, you've reminded me about voice to text, which
Yes,
is something that I
yes.
use a lot to reply
What's
to text
that?
messages and emails, and also, when I'm writing poems and books and stuff, I quite often will dictate them and then edit rather than typing.
I've only just discovered that, and I just realised what it was. That he doesn't really like the Scottish accent that much, but
I struggle.
It's
Doesn't like the English accent
it
much
gets
more.
on all right.
it's getting you can't
Ah.
swear. It puts wee asterisks
It
thing. You
does.
can't swear.
Well, actually, that's doing quite well if it's doing that.
Aye.
That's a more advanced one.
But just equally, a thought that's come into my mind is that I think folks that may engage with us may want to do so anonymously.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Because
100%.
for some people, the fear is actually coming out as a
Yeah.
neurodivergent person, let alone in the workplace
I
or
mean,
not.
I've
So-
felt that.
Yeah, so if that is something you would prefer to do anonymously, we as
We get it.
we
Yeah.
absolutely get it, but as an organisation, as a network, we are here to make the adaptions just as
Yeah.
much as we hope, not expect
100%.
hope, any employer would do also. So
And we could signpost you as well to the right place. That's important.
Yeah,
that we
and some
send you to
some
the right-
things that might work for some people. We have a peer coaching session, which happens on a Tuesday. Information is on the Facebook page, and likewise information for a Zoom virtual office, which is there for body doubling and accountability, and also has a social space for connecting with other neurodivergent entrepreneurs.
And please follow us on all the socials as We Speak Tangent. On all
Absolutely.
the socials, Instagram, Facebook, the Tickety Tick Tock Talk, we're on that as well. So I follow us and we'll upload as much content as you'll
Yeah,
as you'll like us.
we are sitting here, but your voices are valid,
Yeah,
and we
100%.
want to share your input.
We
with the
weren't
people that can make a
always like
difference.
this. It's like it's important that you know that we weren't always able to come out and tell people these things.
Yeah.
For myself, I was in the wild, so this is important.
Mm.
Yous are important and valued, as Kat says.
absolutely, let's hear your stories, let's discuss them, and with no judgment, and let's actually put them out there. After a lifetime in radio, it's the same thing. We're asking for content and contact. I think there's also going to be a push for behind the scenes stuff. I'm not sure how much of my coffee can actually film, but some of us are more interesting than others.
There's a lot of takeout reel already, to be fair. The extra tangents.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of
Tiny tangents.
yes,
Frangipans.
yes. I think that at the end of the year, I think a compilation one will be released,
Yeah.
and you can actually tick off the bingo card. Of, does that one go
Are
there?
we going to release it with a bigger card?
Like a single.
I'm just delegating people more work.
I'm
It's
pushing this.
pretending to be music. It's actually
I'm
just
pushing this
still-
song.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'll sing with you.
yeah. Well, I won't. No, but that's fine. But yeah, we are always looking for guests, always
Yeah,
looking
please.
for
100%.
stories. So please get in touch. And if you enjoy what we do already, outstanding. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Like, subscribe, and review.
Yes, indeed. And there'll also be a ticket at the bottom to tell you how to do that,
Fantastic.
rather than us saying it every 2 minutes. But from all of us here for this week's episode of We Speak Tangent, I've been Michael.
I've been James.
I've been Kat.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.